I'm here to discuss how to use knowledge meaningfully. It is important to understand, though, that the premise of the dimensions is not that they are standalone things, but that they work in conjunction with each other. Mazzano outlines how to use knowledge meaningfully and explores it in depth. I'm going to discuss how it further relates to behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism, with specific examples. Some best practices have been outlined by Mazzano. As I previously stated, students ought to be able to use their knowledge meaningfully. It is no good them just learning things and not being able to apply it in the real world. Summarizing is a skill which teachers can use to discern whether students have truly understood the content and have gained new knowledge from the lesson. It allows students to demonstrate their understanding of the subject. Mazzano has outlined how to teach this from behaviorist, cognitivist, and constructivist approaches. To teach this in a constructivist way, Mazzano says that the students ought to be able to share with each other ways in which they think they can form an outline and summary. They can explore ways, which can also be presented to them, of best practices on how to summarize information. A cognitivist approach would be for a teacher to provide examples of summaries and provide ways in which that they can summarize the new information. The students would then be able to choose which one works best for them. While a behaviorist approach would be the teacher providing a framework within which the students need to put their new information. Each approach can be tailored towards a specific classroom. Teachers are given ways in which they can implement it, which best fit their own needs too. It's important to understand that sharing information is a key constructivist approach to learning.
As stated before, the dimensions of learning are to be used in conjunction with one another in order for them to be effective. Just like the dimensions of learning, there is a place for all three learning theories, behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism, in the classroom. I looked at positive attitudes and perceptions of learning and productive habits of mind as outlined by Marzano. Positive attitudes and perceptions of learning is the basis for all learning. If one comes into a learning environment with a poor attitude and unwillingness to learn, the game is over. To some degree, attitudes and perceptions can fit into all three of the aforementioned learning theories, although perhaps some more than others. Both dimensions need behavioristic approaches in the sense that dimensions both ask for a model that needs to be learned and repeated. To some degree, both maintaining positive attitudes and perceptions and choosing to utilize productive habits of mind both involve developing mental habits which can be reinforced through repetition. An effective teacher will understand and utilize many strategies. At the beginning of a lesson, and more importantly, at the beginning of a class, a behaviorist approach works as you are establishing classroom culture, forming systems, creating expectations, and imparting initial understanding. At this time, creating a comfortable and safe environment where all students feel welcome to participate helps foster positive attitudes and favorable perceptions in regards to learning. This also speaks to social learning theory, as it bridges the gap between behaviorist and cognitive theories of learning. As cognitive theory goes, the teacher's role is again to create the learning environment and materials and use scaffolding to help students achieve their goals. This approach helps specifically when it comes to promoting productive habits of mind, which includes a deeper level of thinking. According to Arthur Costa and Ben Akalik, authors of Learning and Leading with Habits of Mind, they state the following. Clearly, something new is needed if schools are to break out of the traditional aptitude center mentality and make it possible for young people to acquire the kinds of mental habits needed to lead productive, fulfilling lives. We need a definition of intelligence that is attentive to robust habits of mind as it is to the specifics of thinking processes or knowledge structures. We need to develop learning goals that reflect the belief that ability is continuously expandable, is an expandable repertoire of skills, and that through a person's efforts, intelligence grows incrementally. This screams cognitivism. Productive habits of mind help employ strategies that improve the way one thinks.
Today, we will discuss some of Robert Marzano's best practices. I will be talking about communicating course, assignments, rules, and procedures. Clarifying your expectations is key to a smooth running class. Whether it's traditional or virtual, think about it. If you didn't know when to file your income tax return April 15th, would you be late every time? The concept is even more applicable to children. If you don't know what the rules are, if they don't know what the rules are, they probably wouldn't follow them. Mastery of classroom procedures is an academic skill like any other, and it's necessary for student success throughout the school year. Ambiguity can lead to confusion among students as to what is expected of them, which in turns makes it much more difficult for them to actually meet those expectations. Additionally, if students do willfully break the guidelines, it is in your best interest to be able to easily prove that they were aware of the expectations in place. The same need for clarification also exists for specific exercises and assignments. How can you expect work to meet your standards if students don't know what is being expected of them? Setting out well-defined expectations and making sure that all of your students are aware of them is a key step to seeing your students achieve the grades they are capable of. Marzano gives us some implementation tips. Many teachers dedicate the entire first week of school to instructing students in how they want the classroom to operate, including everything from procedures to sharpening pencils to raising of hands to turning in assignments. The same kind of investment of time needs to be made before any exercise or project is given to the students at all. Spend an amount of time proportionate to the size of the assignment reviewing expectations. For large or multi-part exercises, break up the expectations into manageable chunks and processes based on your students' ages and level of comprehension. As always, when laying out expectations for classroom or assignment, be sure to use best practices in teaching by discussing all learning modalities. If you're covering a pencil sharpening procedure, actually have the children perform the action. Make written explanations that can go home to parents and be referenced by the students in their notebooks or folders. Finally, plaster your walls with every rule or procedure that you deem important. These are some of the best practices necessary for classroom success. In an online or virtual environment, make sure that you're taking advantage of all the teacher-student communication tools at your disposal. Most of these systems have messaging functionality, individual assignment directions, and description features, and places for students to take notes for reference. Covering all of these bases should eliminate the "I didn't know" from your classroom vocabulary. Thank you.
Thank you both for sharing the information about each of those dimensions. I find it very enlightening. It's important to remember, though, that there are more dimensions out there. However, it became more and more apparent to me throughout listening to each of your presentations that Marzano created these best practices to not fall in line with one particular learning theory, but to fall in line with all three of them. Marzano created these best practices so that teachers could have better methods for implementing lessons. They are relatable to everyone and are easily implemented. We are now going to test our new knowledge and use it meaningfully. And we will be using Kahoots to do this. I'm now going to hand you over to my esteemed, fantastic and energetic colleague, Larry.
A Different Kind of Classroom by Robert Marzano. For learning to take place, students must have certain attitudes and perceptions named to. And Hari answers, comfortable and safe. Yay, she got it correct. next question. For learning to take place, students must have certain attitudes and perceptions. Name two. Well, that's the question we just did. I'm sorry. Here we go. The next question is, name one best strategy that students could use to acquire and integrate new knowledge. And the answer is let's see. Let's go back for a second. I would say, Harry, what are you going to say? Construct an outline. Oh, time is up. Next. Construct an outline was the correct answer. Harry moved a little too slow. Next, what are two of the activities that are used when refining and extending knowledge? And they are. So what are two of the activities that are used when refining and extending knowledge? And they are. Correct. Good job, Harry. And the question was comparing, or the answer was comparing and contrasting. What is one task that can encourage the meaningful use of knowledge? And Harry, do you want to take your guess? And Harry's correct again. With problem solving. Good job, Harry. Harry now has almost 2,000 points. Next, what does it mean to be human? And Harry is taking a look at the choices, and she chooses to be human. What a great answer, Harry. And that's it. Harry has almost 3,000 points. She has done a great job. She had